We now turn our attention to organizational socialization. If you remember when we spoke about organizational culture, we spoke about it as being transferable, being mobile, essentially being able to be passed down and to employees in the organization, especially new employees. And the way that is done is actually through the process of organizational socialization. It is where a person essentially learns the values, norms, and the required behaviors that permit them to participate and be successful in an organization. We use the term acculturalization, where the person in the organization actually starts embodying the organizational culture. And that's done through this process of socialization. Well, it's been argued that there are three phases of socialization. The first phase is what we call the anticipatory socialization. That's actually happening even before you join an organization. Think about when you were first introduced to the idea of coming to Xavier. You might have been introduced by hearing about it from friends, from family members that had gone here before. You might have done some research online, just kind of find out a little bit about the organization. That's how people learn about the organization through careers, professions, and it's a way for them to kind of get an idea about what the organization is, what the organization stands for, even before they actually become a member of the organization. So that's anticipatory socialization. It happens before you actually become a member of the organization. The second phase of socialization, organizational socialization, is what we call the encounter phase. Here you've actually become a member of the organization, and now you're learning about the organization not necessarily through secondary information, which you've heard from others or what you've read online or what you've gotten from your research, but actually now you are experiencing the organization. And many times when you first join an organization, you go through what's called an orientation process, and that's essentially the encounter phase. Many organizations have what's called onboarding programs, and they are there to kind of help the employee to get used to and get accustomed to the way of doing things in the organization. It says here helping employees to integrate, assimilate, and transition into new jobs by making them familiar with the policies, the procedures, but also the cultural norms of the organization, what to expect. So it might be formal training in terms of, okay, this is our policy, this is how we work, this is our vacation time, and all those kinds of things. But it can also take the form of just observing people or hearing stories from people that have worked there about what is required of you to be a member of this organization. And the third phase is called the change and acquisition. This is really where organizations want their employees to establish themselves in the organization and really start understanding and flowing in the organizational culture. And it says here requiring employees to master important tasks and roles and adjust to your work. So we've given you a grace period, if you will, through the encounter phase. Here at this phase, we really want to inject in you the need to do what you're expected to do and to demonstrate and to embody the organizational culture. So it's here where the organization tries to establish and affirm the new employee as a member of the organization and hope that they are actually or have actually progressed from just kind of the new orientation learning phase to this phase where they are now a full-fledged member of the organization. A key aspect, or what you might consider a more personal element of socialization, is this concept of mentoring. And I'm certain that you've heard this concept before. It's one that we often mention to our students in terms of their professional development. And mentoring is simply the process of forming and maintaining developmental relationships that occur between a mentor and a junior person, normally termed a mentee. That is what mentoring is. We hear it all the time in terms of the organizational setting. You might actually, in some organizations, when you are new, be assigned a mentor. What it hopes to do there is to make the socialization effect a little more personal and a little more intimate, having a one-on-one relationship between the mentor and the junior person, the mentee, to allow them to build relationships, going back to chapter 1 where we talked about that social capital that will help the new member to more fully progress from that encounter phase to the change and acquisition. When we talk about mentoring, we also talk about the relationships involved in mentoring. And we can talk about developmental relationship strength. What is developmental relationship strength? Well, it has to do with the quality of the relationships among the individual and those involved in their developmental network. In your developmental network, you will have many mentors, or you will have number of mentors. And when we talk about the strength, we're really talking about how strong or how involved are you with these mentors? Is it just simply kind of they know your name, they kind of help you out now and then, or they really take a vested interest in you? You spend a lot of time with them. There is a high level of trust, cooperation, high level of reciprocity there, and so therefore they can be seen as someone that you can really leverage their social capital. So when we talk about strength in developmental relationships, we're really talking about that quality, the essence, the content of the relationship. Along with relationship strength, we can also talk about diversity of relationship. And what diversity is, it tells us a little bit about the makeup or the composition of your developmental mentor network. Okay, who's in your network, the number of different people that you're connected to, and also the various social systems on which the network relation stems. So someone that has a very diverse mentoring network will be aligned with many people in many different areas of the organization, perhaps, but also may be aligned with many people in different organizations or in different spheres. So you might have mentors that are in the business world, that are in the religious world, that are in government. They're all coming from different social systems, and you're able to tap into the diversity that comes from having mentors in each one of these different spheres of influence in different spheres of life. So along with the quality of the developmental relationships, the strength of those relationships, you might also want to invest in having a diversity of network contacts, because that as well helps you to build up that social capital. So in diversity, we're talking about variety. We're talking about how many different areas of social systems are you connected to. Well, what are the benefits of this whole mentoring, this mentor relationship? Well, we can see that job and career satisfaction are obviously likely to be influenced by the consistency, listen to this, between an individual's goals and the type of developmental network at its disposal. So it's not just simply having a mentor that is going to lead to any kind of satisfaction, but it's the consistency between what you want to achieve and the type of network that you have, the type of contacts that you have, the type of mentorship relationships you have in terms of diversity as well as strength, that is going to lead to satisfaction. If there is an inconsistency between that, then you're not likely to see the true benefits as an individual of mentorship. And something to also consider as you develop your own mentorship network is that a developer's willingness to provide career and psychosocial assistance is a function of the protege's ability, potential, and the quality of the interpersonal relationship. All this really says is that a mentor is going to feed off of your willingness, your ability, your desire to be mentored. So if you don't invest in the relationship, and you don't invest in your network, and you don't invest in your mentor, then the mentor is not likely to provide you with any kind of real assistance, because they're not going to think that you really want this assistance, that you want to benefit from what they have, because you don't seem to pay any interest or that much interest in building their relationships. So as a mentee, you need to really invest in those relationships to show mentors that you really desire to gain the leverage, or sorry, to gain the capital that comes from those relationships.